Hi there, it's Karen Groves. I'm here in my home, in my kitchen, because I have a story for you about a chef. It's a midlife career change story about Walter and Kim, who decided in midlife that they wanted to live in Europe. Walter was a photographer. They left Texas, went to Europe. Walter went to Le Cordon Bleu cooking school, and they have a great story for you about the fantastic results of their midlife career change. I think you're going to find it inspiring. So let's meet Walter and Kim.
Hi there, folks. I'm Kerin Groves, and today we have some special guests, Walter and Kim Eagleton. They used to live in Denton, Texas, and they now live in Paris, France. And so Walter and Kim are going to tell us about their career change, about that, how that happened. And we are just so excited to see you. It's 9 a.m. in Texas, and it's 4 p.m. in Paris. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my morning sun and it's your afternoon sun.
Yes, that's right.
Well, so tell us about this. You've been in Paris for how long? When did you get there?
Well, to start, we're not actually in Paris. We are in a town called Tourigny d'Anjou, which is in the Loire Valley of France. Okay. And it's about 3 hours and 15 minutes southwest of Paris by car, about an hour and 15 minutes by train.
Okay.
So that's where we live. That's where our house is. However, we did live in Paris for 7 months while I attended Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute.
Okay. All right. So you used to be a photographer in Denton, and now you are a chef in France.
Right.
What the heck? How does that happen? Tell us your whole story.
Well, it's a really long story that we'll try to condense, or it's got a lot of parts to it. So Kim and I have always been, pretty adventurous, or at least she's always been pretty adventurous. And then when we got married in 1985, it kind of rubbed off on me, but we started traveling to Europe in 1986, about a year after we were married. Kim's family all lived in England. And so we would, go back and forth from England quite a bit. And, I fell in love with coming to Europe and et cetera. And 86, I think, we took our first trip at least my first trip to France. We were actually in England and took a long weekend trip to Paris. And I was stung, got the bug at that point. And then to kind of condense a lot of things, for many, many years on our anniversary, Kim would do these surprise trips for me, because at that time I had Eagleton Photography and was really busy growing that business. And Kim was, always on the internet, searching for things. And she just started doing these surprise trips for me for our anniversary, which is in November. And they were trips where she would plan us to go away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I wouldn't know where we were going until we got to the airport. So
wow, what a great gift.
Well, I grew up coming over to England to visit my cousins, etc., during my childhood. So coming to Europe was very comfortable for me. And if I wanted to go somewhere, I had to plan. I pretty much planned it, and then, like he said, then I would surprise him. I love surprises. I love surprising people. So that's most of my joy, I think, is surprising people and then discovering new places.
Yeah, so as we did that for several years, our friends would learn about these trips, and as the internet grew and stuff like that, people would be interested, and they'd say, take us with you next time we go.
Actually, yearly we were the talk of Denton, because people knew that I did this, and they would say, well, where are you taking Walter? Well, I couldn't tell them because I knew it would get back to him. So I'd say, it's a huge secret, and they'd all try to pull it out of me. So it became a game. But then when we got back, they would say, next time you go, take us with you.
Yep. So, we did this for several years, and we had the photography studio, and it was quite successful, and we were quite busy. And
I was working as a nurse practitioner.
Yeah. So Kim is an OBGYN nurse practitioner.
So I worked in Denton, and then my final job was at Parkland Hospital.
And then one of the big things for us was that we really hated being in Texas in the summertime. So, Kim always wanted to try to be, somewhere else except for in Texas during the summertime.
Somewhere cooler.
Yes. Greener.
Definitely cooler and greener. So, I don't know, probably, I guess it was in 2014 is when we did our first adventure. We started our company, Artistic Gourmet Adventures, and we basically designed it to where we would rent a really nice venue in a venue of character. So it would be a chateau in France, a villa in Italy, or somewhere really, really nice. And we would bring people over. Kim is a wonderful planner and hostess and that kind of thing. So she would plan the entire week, and I would cook for our guests. And we started it as, we would rent this place. We would invite people to come. So we had, I think our first one, we had like 12 people, six couples from Denton, many of which were my clients from the photography business. So, it started like that. And, I kind of grew up cooking and did lots of cooking.
The other thing though, this took 9 years to plan. So it's not like we just up and left. We had children to raise, we had jobs, we had a mortgage. We slowly let go of those things. We went to a smaller house. So people that are looking at changing careers, there are things that you might have to change before, but it's a planning thing, and it's stages. For the longest time, I wanted Walter to let go of the studio because it was just so stressful for him, and he wouldn't do it. And I've always been about 2 years ahead of him. So in my planning, I've had to just sit and wait until he says, okay, I'm ready. But the idea of bringing people over to Europe is because we just love seeing people discover what we've discovered. So as Walter said, we planned this out to where I got on the internet and I thought, oh, there's a chateau for rent. Oh, we can afford that if we have so many. And they were clients, they weren't guests. I mean, we didn't invite them, they were guests, so they were paying clients. And then I would draw a circle on a map of 45 minutes away from wherever we're staying. And I thought, oh, we can go there, and we can go there, and we can go there. So we stay in one place, and we're still doing this, of course. We stay in one place and take day trips out. And so I take people out on the day trips every day. And then when they come home, Walter and our sous chef assistant, Glenda, have a multi-course gourmet meal ready for them. And Walter did this before he even went to cooking school.
And are you bilingual now?
She's much more bilingual than I am.
I'm fluent in Spanish, so it was not a major transition to go to French, but we still don't really speak that much French or need to. We have wonderful neighbors that speak Franglish.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's pretty much the way it is. A lot of people in Europe speak English, so it helps.
Yeah, but we are in a very small village, so it's not that common that people, it's probably a third of the people here speak English. And
But they're very friendly.
but they're
about it
extremely friendly
and help out. Yeah.
yeah.
But you still have a house in Denton, and you still come back occasionally and visit. Your
Right.
family, your
Here.
kids are here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We won't live here forever.
Yeah.
What do you think's the next thing for you? When
Well,
you get bored, what are
Yeah.
you gonna do next?
well, yeah, I mean that is my problem. After about 5 years, I start getting bored. But we keep recreating ourselves, and I think that's what you have to do. There's a lot of people that look at us and say, how could you possibly do this? Aren't you afraid? You know, a lot of people either have never been out of the United States, they are afraid to leave their home. So you have to have a certain personality. But I have to say, it's definitely planning and having a business plan and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And easing your way into it, not just pulling the plug and going without making any provisions.
I think
Right,
that's a
right.
mistake because I think people may end up being disheartened when they get there
And overwhelmed.
and overwhelmed. Yeah, it's quite a process. And if we hadn't had friends here or somebody to anchor us, I think, you know, getting us immersed in the culture, the electricity bill, the gas bill, but you can do that. You can learn about that online as well.
Yeah, you know, Kim is fairly often telling people, yeah, just move on over. It's not that big. It's not that difficult. I would never have done this without her. I mean, it is difficult. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that you have to figure out.
But there's a lot of expat resources. They're on
How do you
Facebook.
find each other? How do you find other expats?
Well, we don't care about finding other expats, actually.
Yeah.
We like the French. So, but Facebook has lots of groups. Like there's one called Americans Living in France, Americans in France.
Mhm.
And we end up helping them on Facebook more than they help us. But I'm sure Portugal, Spain, wherever you wanted to go, Italy has a large expat community, and it's
You
easy
can
to
find
find.
people that will help you make the
Yes.
transition, tell you what you need to know.
We
Mhm.
actually have a woman here in France that that's her whole business is helping Anglos
Mhm.
settle into French life.
So there's communities there that can help folks if they want to get started, and not just France, in Europe, in many other places. And
Right.
Yeah.
you had
Now-
a community, you met people, and they helped you with the information that you needed.
Right. But
Mhm.
now running a business is a whole other story.
Yeah, what are the requirements in terms of earning money there and permits and things like that?
Walter and I are allowed to work here because of our special status. If you get a visa like the one year visa we talked to about, and then you're not allowed to work here.
Right.
We have also our companies based in the United States, and that's how we pay American taxes. We do have to file this year for French taxes, but they don't double tax you. So because we've been here more than 183 days.
Okay, so you would be taxed one or the other. You wouldn't have to be taxed in both.
It's called a global wealth tax, and I think I'm not sure if every European country does it, but they look at your global wealth.
Okay.
Obviously, Kim does all that stuff. I hate that kind of stuff.
She's in charge of all that.
She's in charge of all of that. It just wears me out to think about it.
She's the detail person, and you're maybe okay.
You know,
All right.
And I think you have to have that in a relationship where you're going to do something like this. There has to be somebody that's a nerd, I guess.
And you have to have some risk tolerance. You know, some
Oh,
people are in
definitely.
their comfort zone, and this would just blow their mind. But you have some willingness to not have all the answers and to have some risk tolerance. And well, if it doesn't work out, we'll figure something else out. That's a personality type.
Mhm.
You know, you have it or you don't have it.
Yeah.
in nursing school, we studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the bottom, it's a pyramid, and the bottom is security, roof over your head, food. The top one is self-actualization, which I think we probably reached. But
way up, yeah.
But just like I said, I'm content if I have a roof over my head, food on the table, and money for bills. That's what you have to boil it down to. If this doesn't work out, we'll figure something else out, or we'll go back to the States or live with our kids or something.
You've got options. You're not going to be on the street.
Right,
No.
right.
And you look back at your life before, and yeah, you had a fancy house and a bunch of cars, but you were working all the time, and that was a different kind of stress. The simple life is pared down. You're not going to nightclubs. You're not going out to big parties or anything, but the simple life it's a trade-off that was worth it for you. So what advice would you give to, I mean, you've already given some great advice, but someone who has a little thought in their head, but they think, oh, well, that's just a crazy dream. That's a pipe dream. A lot of people tell me that's just a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. What advice do you give them in terms of listening to themselves and knowing what's a crazy fantasy and what is maybe realistic? Yeah.
Well, for me, Kim will probably have a different answer for this, but for me, I get bored too. And, I always said that, before I die, I plan to have, 3, 4, 5 careers. And I'm okay with that. A lot of people are not okay with that. They just think that you go to school for something, you study that, and that's what you do for life. My dad worked for Exxon. He started when he was 18 years old, and he retired there when he was, 40. He was injured. So he worked there 40 years, and that's all he ever did, but he was content. He was happy, but that was his personality type. I could never do that. I could never go and work somewhere for 30 year or something and not
doesn't suit you.
It doesn't suit me, so.
And my parents were self-employed. My dad was a machinist, and he invented printing presses for like cardboard, etc. So I grew up in the self-employed. I swore I'd never marry a self-employed person, but I grew up with a family that took risks. My brother's self-employed. And so I think you really need to, you need to boil it down to basics. If we have a friend who's a watercolor artist in town, Jo Williams, she's absolutely phenomenal. And I think of her a lot because she's at that retirement age, and she said she would just love to come over and just paint. And I think the first thing you need to do is you need to find housing, affordable housing. The second thing you need to do is decide how long you want to be over here. Do you have grandchildren? Do you have children you have to take care of? But you've got to start at the basics. I'm not talking about running a business. That's I think a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm. But in general, just getting things in order.
Planning,
and
so then come over. We've got these friends that want to move to Europe. They're coming over on a scouting mission. Check out where you want to live, what the housing costs are, what country is the least expensive to live in. I know a lot of people go to Costa Rica because, it's very inexpensive to live there, but you can definitely live your dream on a shoestring, I think.
But, for me as an artist, the impetus is not to do something different. But when I get to the point where I just can't stand what I'm doing, even though I loved it for 10 years or 15 years.
It has an expiration date.
It has an expiration date. And for me, it's a hard date. I mean, I hit it, and I either have to do something else, or I'm just going, Kim can tell you.
It's about 2 years after I already think of it.
I'll just go crazy. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do something that I'm not.
It's all about creation.
Yeah.
So you've been there, done that, and now it's time to do the next thing.
You become the next.
It doesn't mean that you're flaky. It means that you have a lot of interests, and you want to be able to get around to all of them.
That's exactly right.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what's
I look
next? What comes next? You said you might have some more careers before retirement. What's next for you?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we started this online Zoom classes and the YouTube channel, and we're enjoying that quite a lot. But at some point, we'll probably get back to the States, and Kim's got some ideas about
well, one of the
how to
things,
make that work.
when we're in the States, we do private dinners for people, gourmet dinners in their home. 8 to 10 people, 4 or 5 courses. So that's really, he just loves to cook. I mean, in the kitchen, he's the happiest person ever. So it doesn't matter whose kitchen or what country it's in. He just likes to cook. So
You'll just find a kitchen somewhere else.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. That's right.
Thank you so much. And if I have anybody that has any questions, I'm going to give you contact information if that's okay.